Recently, I decided that I love hiking and I love camping. So logically, I would love backpacking, right? So what this newbie did was go on Amazon, buy a ton of really cheap and extremely heavy gear, and plan a 3-day trip to the Adirondack Mountains with his wife to summit New York's highest peak, Mount Marcy, along with many of the other 46ers. I know, easy as can be, right? Yeah, that's what we thought too. So the plan was to hike a simple 3 miles into the Adirondacks to Marcy Dam. This was going to be our first camp spot. At this point, things were still going wonderful. The sun was out, it was an amazing 65 degrees, and everything was starting to bloom for spring. Damn, were we dumb. A little over an hour of hiking later, we reached Marcy Dam. Now we got here early, so finding a camp spot was a breeze. However, this is when we started to realize that we had absolutely
no clue what the hell we were doing.
Step 1, set up camp. How hard could that be? Actually, this was quite easy. My cheap Amazon tent is your typical pole tent with the poles that run through the top, easy peasy to set up. Now, I thought I was crushing it when I found a tent that only weighed 3.5 pounds on Amazon. Yeah, you heard that right. Only 3.5 pounds. I actually thought this was super light at the time. Did I mention we were new to this? Step 2 was water. I purchased us the Sawyer mini water filters to try out. Now, neither of us have ever filtered water from a mountain river or tasted filtered water before, so this was going to be an experience one way or another. Turned out to be pretty easy, and a quick taste test revealed pretty shocking results. We have our filtered water each. All right, let's see how it is. All right.
Oh,
that was really good.
It's like nothing. Yeah, it's just
really good. It's like Poland Spring.
Yeah.
Ah, we're on to you, Poland Spring. Can't forget the bug spray. Take a look at those sexy legs. Now you can see that we got our bug nets on. These things weigh nothing, look absolutely ridiculous, and we were extremely grateful we had them. Once the water was collected and purified, it was time for our first dinner. Now I heard that you're not supposed to cook and eat where you camp. So we took a little walk away from our campsite. Like a freaking mile. Forgot my lighter? I could take care of that. Good to go. All right. Let's turn this on. Little. There we go. And we posted up on a trail that we thought was not very used.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good, and you?
Good, good.
Good.
It says to add 1.5 cups. We were kind of thinking there was gonna be like a line in the bag, you know, like stupid people proof. We very quickly realized that hiking a mile away from campsite and posting up on a trail to cook and eat your dinner probably wasn't the normal thing that most backpackers did. I'm telling you, something in my heart tells me that this is not the norm. Something about the way the hikers are looking at us when they pass us. I don't know, something about nobody else on the trail cooking their meals. These dehydrated backpacking meals were another rookie mistake. However, I could see some experienced backpackers making these same mistakes, so this may be one of the few instances where our mistake didn't automatically reveal how absolutely new to backpacking we were.
Yeah, these noodles suck.
All said and done, we got to camp around 3 p.m., but we didn't get into our tent until 10 p.m. at night. Now, day 2 is where the real work was going to begin. The plan was to get up and be on the trail by 6 a.m. and making our way up Mount Marcy. So the real reason I asked her to come out on this backpacking trip was to murder her.
Oh.
Good night. Whew. Good morning. Beautiful morning in the Adirondacks. Let's get up so we can start making our way up Mount Marcy. As you can see, we got our campsite packed up and we are out on trail and only 2 hours behind schedule. So aside from starting hours behind schedule, the beginning of the hike up Mount Marcy was pretty routine. That was until we started hitting some pretty wild water crossings that absolutely soaked our feet. And the weight of our packs really started to become apparent.
These packs, my 45 or 35, starting to get a little heavy.
At just around the 3,000 foot of elevation mark, the snow started, and it did not let up until we were pretty much at the summit. And the newbie rookies that me and my wife are, we didn't think there would be snow in May and didn't even think to bring our crampons.
Had to put on the crampons.
So what that forced us to do was her rent a pair for $15 a day from the visitor center and me buy a pair for $70 that would have probably cost me $25 on Amazon. But at the end of the day, we were so thankful to have them.
Thank goodness we got these. Going through this in shorts, nice.
At this point, I started to have some serious doubts.
Falling further and further behind pace, to a point we're not really sure if we're even gonna make it. Ow.
The snow just made everything that much harder, especially when our feet were falling through every 50 feet or so. But despite how difficult this hike was, it was impossible to ignore how absolutely beautiful the contrast of the spring bloom alongside the remnant. Despite how difficult this hike was, it was why can't I get that? Blah. But despite how difficult this hike was getting, it was absolutely impossible to ignore the beauty of the colors of spring contrasted with the remnants of winter.
The greenest moss you can imagine with a whole ton of snow. What a stark contrast. Gotta love spring hiking.
The higher we went, the heavier these frickin' packs got.
Exhausting. I think you add a 45-pound pack on top of it.
But just when we were thinking about turning around and giving up, we got our first glimpse of the incredible views that Mount Marcy has to offer. Finally, a glimpse of the summit, but there was still plenty of hiking, water crossings, and of course snow we had to deal with first.
I feel like we're out here mountaineering. We just keep climbing, man. It doesn't seem to ever be getting any closer.
We also realized at this point that we were not super hikers. There was no freaking way that we were ever gonna make the 8 miles to campsite 2. So that meant after summiting, we were gonna have to turn around and head back down to where we came from.
We are definitely changing the plans. I think we confirmed that, right?
Almost at the summit, and after many miles and thousands of feet of climbing, we finally decided to take our lunch break. Because we got such a late start in the morning, we both decided that we would eat our breakfast on the go. But that never actually happened. So this break was the first time either of us was getting any kind of nutrition, and it was pretty late in the afternoon at this point.
So we found this little outcropping right here on the side of these rocks, and it's the only place we could find that had a little flat spot so we could actually make some food. Well, that was fun while it lasted, but it's cold.
After that much needed nutrition, it was the moment we have been waiting for, the summit push. And this is when my incredible wife had a genius idea.
Look at that. You want him? Yeah. Put him right here. My wife is a genius. No, who's gonna pick up these f***ers and carry them willingly? Let them have it at this point. We'll hike down to the car and head home.
At this point, we thought we were completely done with the snow. We took our crampons off a ways back. But of course, we couldn't have been more wrong. But hey, at least we're consistent, right? And finally, after almost 7 hours of hiking, we reached New York's highest peak, Mount Marcy, standing at an elevation of 5,343 feet. There is no mountain higher around.
Did it!
We took some quick pictures and got the hell off that summit. You see how freaking windy it was up there? It almost blew me right over and took the hat right off my head. We took the same way back down, so not much to see, and to be frank, I was kinda over the whole filming thing at this point. I was exhausted, my pack was killing my back, and it was killing me to know that I was hiking down to the exact same place we started, and we could have just left our campsite set up and not carried all that gear up the mountain. We ended up getting to camp just before dark, but at that point, almost all the campsites were taken. After a ton of searching, we finally found one way up on a hill. This forced us to set up camp, cook dinner, and eat in the dark. But at this point, both of us were completely wasted. We just wanted to get into that tent and pass out for the night.
Well, that's funny. My foot turned that on. I dropped the GoPro and it landed on my toe.
Both of us, being absolutely beat to hell the day before, decided to take our time the next morning. Woke up, made some nice breakfast, packed up camp, and started the 3 to 4 mile hike back to the car. So what did this absolute newbie learn from a weekend backpacking trip in the Adirondack Mountains? Well, for one, I didn't need half the crap in my pack. But you probably already figured that out after reading the word newbie in the title of this video. The second thing that I learned is ultralight backpacking is freaking expensive. However, there are some things that I should have spent a little bit more money on than others. For example, my sleeping bag and my tent. I say that because these are two of the heaviest items in my pack, and they're two items that I have to bring along with me on every future trip that I go on. The third thing that I learned is to listen to park rangers and staff when they tell you that conditions are not ideal. When they tried telling me, I remember thinking to myself, these people clearly don't know the incredible athlete that they're talking to. I even made a comment similar to that to my wife as we were walking away from the visitor center to start this adventure. I'm sure they saw newbie written all over us between our gear, the way we spoke, and just our overall appearance. And trust me when I say that I was humbled very, very quickly. And the fourth thing that I learned is the idea of base camp backpacking. This is when you hike on out, you set up camp, and you take day hikes from that camp. You return back to your home base. You don't have to worry about setting up camp after a long day of backpacking. You can just come back, cook up a hot meal, and pass on out. This sounds like an excellent way to tackle a bunch of the 46ers, at least in the area of the Adirondacks that we were in. So these are just a few of the lessons I learned on my first backpacking trip. If you want a gear review video on all the Amazon gear that I purchased and used on this trip and every trip after, let me know in the comments. Surprisingly, some of it actually kicked ass. And of course, some of it I should have just thrown in the fire pit and sacrificed to the backpacking gods. If you've watched the video to this point and you're not already subscribed, come on, what are you really doing? Hit that button, and hell, while you're at it, give that like button a little tap too. And until next time, get out and get after it. We'll see you out there. Bye-bye.
Bye.